I am Lawrence Chuno, and this is Doing Jazz. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Jazz. My name is Lawrence Chuno, and on this episode, I am lucky to be joined by my friend and an incredible bassist, John Gray, who volunteered to interview me about my new album, Rhythm Sustained. I resisted at first about being interviewed on the show because I thought that ever talking about my own work on this show would mess up my vision of the show, which is to geek out and fan out about other people's work. However, John managed to smoothly talk me into doing it. And it was actually a good idea because we talked about many things, including the making of the album and a bunch of other things that I would have never thought about by myself. The song playing in the background is called Mr. Sabi. It's from the album Rhythm Sustained. And throughout this episode, you'll hear several snippets of other songs on the album. If you are in the New York area, please come to Shrine World Music Venue in Harlem on Friday, January 4th for the official album release and APAP showcase of the album. The concert starts at 8 p.m. After listening to this episode, you can learn more about Rhythm Sustained by going to the website of the show, www.doingjazz.net. You can listen to more episodes of Doing Jazz by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the available podcast vendors. If you're on Spotify, please follow the Doing Jazz playlist, a one-stop playlist for songs by all the Doing Jazz guests so far. While on iTunes, please rate the show, leave a comment, and share the show with your loved ones. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year! And I present John Gray, Lawrence Chuno, and Rhythm Sustained. In your face. Inundated in contemplation, wondering if I've played it so easy.
Welcome to the Doing Jazz podcast with Lorenz Chuno. I am John Gray, and I am actually interviewing Lorenz Chuno for his own podcast. Welcome to your own show, Lorenz.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me at Doing Jazz.
Oh, no problem. Well, it's your show, so I mean, thanks for having me to interview you. The real reason that we're interviewing you,
it's called Rhythm Sustained.
Okay, so
and I am very, 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 very excited about the new project.
What? Yeah, of course. That sounds awesome. So I played on this project as your bass player, and we've talked about it a lot, just as friends and people who are working on this. But the one thing that kind of strikes me about this album is it's kind of an update on an album you released several years ago, called Niger Rhythm Affair.
Yep.
And we've talked a while about why you decided to do an update on an album you've already released. So maybe you could talk about like what your thinking was for making a step like this.
Okay, cool. So when we talked, when I approached you and told you, hey, I did this album in 2016 and everything is tight, but the whole album is almost tight, and I felt like I was kind of the weak link in some part of it, that the overall production could be better, and that I have grown so much as an artist, especially my vocals, my interpretation of my own compositions, that I could do a better job on this album. And especially since it wasn't like a major release, the release was like almost like a demo release, because I had just moved to New York then. I had only stayed 2 years in New York. So I thought I would just redo the album, reimagine it. But the process ended up turning into a new album altogether.
Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, just from listening to it, it's it seems like a totally
Yes,
different kind of thing.
it's a new album. I'm just gonna present it as a new work. It has a several of the songs that were on the old album reimagined. The old album had I think 10 tracks, and this one has 12. And I think at least five of the songs on the new album are just new songs, and the remaining were like songs from the Niger Rhythm Affair that have been redone, reimagined. The vocals are new. A little bit of new background vocals, new production, new mixing and mastering. So yeah, it's a new album. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, in listening to it, it certainly sounds like one. I mean, the biggest difference, I mean, for me at least, the biggest difference is like, okay, like I'm a big fan of John Lennon, and he had this term called an honest album, quote unquote.
Oh, great.
So what he meant by that was, you have an album that sounds exactly like what someone would play at a club or a concert without, big tape machines, or like, oh, I have this symphony orchestra sitting in on this track. I felt like Niger Rhythm Affair was more like that than this album. So what are the things you added to give this a more produced feel?
Okay.
Something that, like maybe sounds... It's kind of a bit more of a modern direction.
Yeah.
So talk about a little bit like what the difference is between those two approaches.
Oh, okay. So Niger Rhythm Affair, as like I said, by the way, I have to mention again. I think you mentioned it, but I don't know if people listening caught it. You played on both albums. You're like the bass player.
Sure.
On the whole.
But the important difference is I didn't record a single new note for the Rhythm Sustained album, other than...
oh, yeah. No, you did. What's going on? Yeah.
Okay. But that was for the video shoot, so that wasn't for...
Yeah, but still, it's the album. It was performed live, but then it was produced, and it's a studio album. It has a studio feel to it.
But I mean the idea that I'm on an album that I didn't consciously sit down to record
okay.
It is kind of an interesting idea, especially to those people who like are not professional musicians. It's like you got this credit for nothing. It's just like it's just like a freebie.
It happens.
Yeah.
So you were, as I was saying, you asked how you notice the difference in the feel of the two albums. So the first one, Niger Rhythm Affair, when I did that album, I wanted to present what my project, my band would sound like live,
right.
And my original intention was to have like a trio album, just me on piano and vocals, you on bass, and Michael Vitali on drums. That was my intention. But after a while, I looked at the composition. The composition could use guitar and saxophone, so I went in that direction. But I still wanted it to be an album that somebody could just listen to, and it would kind of reflect a live performance. Meanwhile, in this album, I have grown since then, and I want an album that I could put out there to, quote unquote, I don't want to use the word, but maybe compete, like an album that is that has industry standards, even though sometimes industry standard might not mean that it's the best standard, but you want to put out something that when somebody's listening to on a playlist, it kind of sounds like the
right, because
it kind of had the same kind of vibe as the other songs.
Right. I mean, because these days, most albums, a ton of albums are not, as Lennon would say, an honest album. There are a lot of albums that like, oh, we added this organ part here that we have no intention of playing live, or and a lot of bands will just surrender to that and say, okay, we have to get a backing track. Like, like at a higher level, like if you're playing at Coachella and like your fans are expecting to hear what they heard on the album. like, we play to a click, we play to a backing track. Like it's
But
like
let me stop you there.
sure,
This Rhythm Sustained is still a very honest album.
yeah,
Everything that if you whatever you hear on the album, if you come to our show live, that's what you're gonna hear. You
right,
know, I didn't change the sound of anything. The saxophone, everything, the bass, they all sound like they
right.
would sound live. You know,
You just
so
added some stuff on the side just to gussy it up a little bit sometimes.
yeah, I had background vocals.
Yeah,
You know that you have to do that after you've done every other thing.
sure.
Yeah.
I also know one other thing I noticed is you do this like megaphone effect on some of the songs. Like,
Yes.
how did you do that in the studio? Because I'm curious.
Oh, it's the guy that the mixer he mixed and mastered it. His name is Dave Darlington, and he's very experienced.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's very extremely experienced at what he does. When we were working on the album, I said, okay, well, we have this many days. I think we should spend this so much time on mixing, and then I'll come back another day and you master it. He's like, no, I mix and master at the same time. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, we just once it's mixed, it's mastered. I'm like, wow, and he
Oh.
meant what he said.
Huh.
Yeah. So coming back to the megaphone effect, he explained something to me. He wanted to do it in an analog fashion, but there's a digital effect, some plugin on on Pro Tools that does it, and that's what he does. Yeah,
Oh.
but you don't want to overdo it. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you overdo it, it's
Yeah.
like, does he talk like that? Like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
wrong?
yeah.
Does he have like a vocal cord injury? You don't want that.
I think it's on one song or two songs. I think it's on Mr. Sabi,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't on the lead vocal. It's on like a double
Sure.
of the lead vocal. Yeah.
How many days exactly did you see Dave Darlington?
Oh shoot.
Did you go like? I mean, was it like
Yeah.
5 days, like 10? Like,
Let me calculate. Okay, I had originally booked 5 days, and I wanted to use 3 days to do the recording, and then 2 days to do the mixing. But I think it ended up being 8. Let me backtrack. I originally intended to book. I booked 5 evenings, and an evening is about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
oh, okay, not
you
like
know.
not like a 5 to 12.
Yeah,
or something.
no,
Okay.
yeah. So in total, it's about 5 evenings of 3 to 4 hours, and then 3 days, 3 full days.
Oh wow. So that's.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of. I mean, that's a big commitment in terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
resources to do this.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like compare that to when we recorded Niger Rhythm Affair. That was a
Yeah.
bit. I mean, maybe you could talk a little bit about like how, because that we just recorded live into the thing.
yeah. We recorded like, but we recorded we came in. We had 3 full days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 3 full days, and then the mixing and mastering took another. The mixing took another 2 days, so it's almost the same thing. But I think you're looking at this album as an update of that album. It's not. You know, when I started looking, I started by looking at it as an update of the old album. But after the first day, I discovered that this is a new album. I'm just gonna
Sure.
work on it as a new album. Yeah.
Got-
And so I just approached everything new. Ideas were coming in as I was doing, as I was going to the studio each day. After each day, there's a new idea for the next day, and I produced everything, which is an interesting experience, because I just learned that if you really, really want a good album, you have to really spend time and plan the production.
Oh yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter the genre. Even if you're going into to play a live set and release an album of your live set as a live jazz set, you still have to plan the production. If you want your 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 drum set or the drum kit to sound a certain way at the end, you have to imagine what it's gonna sound like before you start playing.
Of course,
Not yeah.
you're in charge of all the details.
Yes, yeah,
If you're playing live, I mean, you're kind of really just in charge of yourself.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
Exactly.
I can't control in a live club show like what the drums are gonna sound like.
Yeah.
That's just not my job. But if I'm recording an album, I'm like, okay, like when I'm mixing, I know kind of vaguely in my head what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm in the studio that day, I know what I'm looking for that
Yeah,
day.
but the thing is this actually, you don't want to wait till mixing. If you want your bass to sound like an 808, you want to think about it while composing because it affects the composition.
Sure,
you know,
absolutely.
if you want it to be if you want your bass to be very dark, you want to write a composition that has sparse bass because you don't want to be doing a lot of riffing, a lot of notes with a bass that's really deep or really it has like a kick drum effect. You don't want that. So
Right.
it starts with the composition, and then during the recording is where you really have to mic things. You really have to set things up in such a way that they sound the way you want them. You don't want to wait till mixing because during mixing you might not get what you're thinking.
Oh yeah,
about.
of course. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, if you're mixing it, I mean, it's many of those details. It's already too late. I mean, like I mean, I think that attention to detail and intention are the two best friends of any producer. But I mean, this album seems to have that under control for sure.
Thank you.
Let's see here.
And you can always hire a producer. Oh yeah, that it's a real thing.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
of
always
course.
hire a producer and just get somebody who has produced an album and pay the person and not worry about that. Not worry about the production. I mean, you tell the person your ideas, then the person just be in charge of making that idea come through. Some really good producers are not good musicians, but they are just marvelous producers, and they give you the sound you're looking for. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So other than Dave Darlington, who did you bring in for Rhythm Sustain? I mean, were there any other musicians or any, if not producers, then sympathetic ears
Oh, okay.
that you relied on?
So, the Rhythm Sustain crew comprises me on vocals and on piano on maybe 4 of the songs. I played piano. Some of the songs that I had to update, I got somebody else to do the piano on them, and I kept some of the piano that I already played. So I played the piano on 4 of the songs, and then I got Takafumi Swanega to play piano and keys on the remainder of the other songs. And then I have you on bass, Michael Vitali on drums, Wayne Tucker on saxophone.
No,
Sorry, on trumpet on one of the songs. The second song.
Yeah.
And then Michael Eaton, the honorable, very, very fantastic Michael Eaton on saxophone, on the whole song, on the whole the parts, the ones that had saxophone. I've been on beer. He's a guy, a really good guitarist who lives in Boston. He also contributed. And then I have me on percussion. I did all the percussion work.
Oh, nice.
I
didn't realize that.
Yep. If you hear any percussion, there is me. So I'm kind of proud of that. And then I have this guy. His name is Shedrack Pierre to help me out with background vocals, and he did a really good job. And it's very fantastic. Some of the songs were recorded at in Brooklyn at what's his name? Derek Nevergert's studio.
Yeah.
I think his studio is called Orange Fish, and we recorded some of it
I
there.
wish I knew what his studio was
Yeah.
called. I don't know.
And then the others I recorded, I've already mentioned Dave Darlington, recorded the remainder at his studio. And then I have one guy, his name is Tom Larson. He played guitar on What's Going On. I don't know if you hear the guitar. It's just the same riff
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he played it, and it took us a while because I asked him to play. It's a funny story. I asked him if he could play guitar on the song. He's like, yeah. And then he played it. He played something that's really nice. He's a good blues guitar player.
Yeah.
So I heard it. I'm like, oh no, that's not what I'm going for. And it was kind of, he wasn't happy about it. So I told him, hey, this is what I'm kind of looking for. And I just want two notes. Tutum, 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 tutum. Just that riff, simple throughout. Bring some love in here today. Picket lines, picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah. And I thought it was gonna be easy. I'm African, and
Right.
so and the points where you hit those notes are just not natural to an American musician.
Right. If you haven't grown up with it,
Yes.
it's just like that.
So we
feeling
started
of it.
playing it, and he was so into it, but the beginning he wasn't getting it. So I took like an hour, and we made it work. But at the end, he just nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, he's just like really good, and he was so passionate. He wanted to learn the riff, and it worked out well. So Tom Larson on guitar on one of the songs, and then Alicia Olatuja was like a vocal producer on the album. That was when I learned what vocal production meant. She told me, okay, I'm gonna vocal produce you. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, don't worry. I'm like, okay. And she came into the studio. At the end, I was so happy she was there. She came in 3 days, and
Just kind of told you like, oh, your voice.
oh yeah,
You sound a little tired today. Let's hit this tomorrow.
Oh yeah, or like no, do it again. Do it. I would do some lines like 3 times or 4 times, and then she'll pick the best part. She'll be like, okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't hear the difference until when everything is put together. Then I'll hear, oh, this is what she's talking about. So
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds invaluable. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So she was just a good listening ear in the studio to give me her feedback and to know when my voice was becoming weak and when I should stop or how I should approach certain runs or certain passages. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I don't think I am.
Did Michael Eaton record any new stuff for Rhythm Sustained, or was that?
Oh yeah, it's just the old stuff he had for Rhythm Niger Rhythm Affair. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. So the one big thing I noticed about the album, and we talked about when it comes to tracking, is this album has like 2 halves. Like there's a first half which talks a lot about kind of civil rights, kind of maybe things that are. I mean, I could overgeneralize and say maybe frustrating in life, and the second half is about things that give you joy.
Yes.
And it's separated by this track called Rhythm Sustained, which kind of
Yeah. Rhythm and Life.
Rhythm and Life. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. we had talked about the title
Yeah.
for that. I wonder if you could just talk about what inspired you to divide the tracks up this way, and like what is it? Just talk about.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like when I recorded Niger Rhythm Affair, I just wanted to present a collection of songs I had written that have that has everything, every musical background that I am made up of. But this album, it turned out that I had been writing, I had been growing both musically and as a human being, and then there are a lot of things I realized that affect my life that I think about all the time, a lot of the time, and those things are things that I would say perturb my rhythm in life. I personally believe that we all have a rhythm in life, or we are all chasing this rhythm of maintaining a particular rhythm that we're happy with. I believe in that. And so there are issues that I think that has perturbed my rhythm in the past few years. It could be political issues. But most of them are like human rights, civil rights issues, and some issues. I'm becoming aware of certain things. I'm becoming woke to a lot of things. So
Sure.
yeah. So some of the songs I wrote a few new songs and took what's going on, and then I had this collection about 6 songs that just talk about the things that I care about that perturb my rhythm. And then I'm also somebody that writes really happy songs, or like "Today Is Your Day"
Right.
or "Come My Way." Even sometimes I write breakup songs that sound happy, like "Do Not Call."
Well, I mean, it could be if
Yeah,
depending on what the
yeah,
situation
it
is.
sounds happy to me, but it's like a happy breakup.
I mean, it's from a position of strength. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I don't need you. Don't call.
Exactly. And then I have a song like "Easy Beasy" is just like a happy song that I don't know where it comes from. Sorry, it's One Train, but I call it.
I was
Easy
going to ask
Beasy.
about that a little more later. But
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, yeah. So I have this collection of songs. The first 6 songs are songs that just issues I want to tackle. And the remaining 7 songs, or the remaining 6 songs, are songs uh, that are more natural to me as somebody who want to be happy, and they are happy. They are very everyday issues that I just observe and wanna talk about them. So together, the balance, I try to, one of them perturb my rhythm, the other part kind of balances out my rhythm, sustains my rhythm. So
Gotcha.
rhythm sustained.
So yeah, maybe we could play some music right now. But I was like, there's this one track that has changed a lot in both versions. It was called Une Tete Go
Yeah.
in Niger Rhythm Affair. Now it's called Awake, right?
Yes.
So what? I mean, it's in what language? First of all, you could tell everyone what language it's in.
Oh, it's in Igbo.
Mm-hmm.
It's Igbo, Igbo. It's a Nigerian language, and I speak the language very well. I spoke English first. I'm from Nigeria. I spoke English first, then learned that language. But I will call that language my mother tongue. Yeah, because my parents speak it,
Sure.
and that's their first language. Yes.
So what is the meaning of Une Tete Go, and is it the same meaning as awake?
Okay. Yeah, you could think of it that way. Unetetego means, are you awake? Have you woken up? Have you woken up to what's around you? What's happening to you? And if you have woken up what's happening to you, how are you going to respond to that? And my advice on how to respond to that is to unite with people who believe in the same things that you believe in. As long as they are good things, you want to unite with them, form a community with them, so that together you can come together and solve problems. So just awaken to what's going on, and then come together to try to solve the problem. So,
It sounds like a plan to me. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. So another song I want to ask about, and it's one of my favorite songs to play, is "Wait."
Wait. Okay.
Because I mean, it's not WEIGHT, it's WAIT, and like it's it's one of the most, it hits very hard emotionally, and like I always feel it. I feel like it comes from a very personal place for you, as
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. I wonder if there was if you could talk about the song a little bit, and if there are any stories that might help people who don't understand what it's about understand what it's about. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Wait is a song about police brutality in the U.S. And without going too deep into the story, there was a time, a day in Pittsburgh. I was a student, a college student, and I was falsely arrested, apprehended in the middle of the night. I usually walk at the front desk of the school. I would walk from maybe 4 to like midnight or something. So I was walking back to where I lived. I didn't live on campus then, I lived off campus, and I was arrested. I was held, and this guy was like, a police guy was like, "Oh, we finally caught you," or something. So, and I was saying to him, "No, it's not me." And he's like, "You fuck with me, I'm gonna shoot you." And he pointed a gun at me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "Wait, hey, wait, don't shoot me." That was when he heard my accent, and he's like, "Where are you from?" I told him. He's like, "What are you doing here?" So I go to Duquesne University. So that's where the song come from. Wait,
Wow.
wait, don't shoot. So, and for the song, I didn't want it to be, I didn't want to lose the meaning in too much poetry. I didn't want it to be too poetic. I just wanted it to be straightforward, but still capture the situation in a way that any listening person would know that, would see the conviction and honesty in what I'm saying. The line says, "Sworn to serve and protect, yet some kill and molest. Human right they neglect, making many cry and protest." So, and that's what's sworn to serve and protect, yet some kill and molest. Human rights they neglect, making many cry and protest. Spectre of Jim Crow, ugly echo of the past. With my arms in the air, you are ready to shoot. You claim you fear for your life. Why should your feet take my life? Happening. So if they could just wait and feel the humanity in the other person, wait and see how the face of the other person, and wait and feel the blood that is running through the other person, maybe they wouldn't shoot so quickly. Do you hear the story of a cop that knocked on somebody's door, or maybe didn't knock, I don't know. Broke into somebody's house, and killed the person, and then her excuse was that she thought it was her apartment.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most tragic thing I can ever imagine
It's
hearing.
like you're in your house.
I heard I saw a report that actually there was another wrinkle to it, in that they knew each other, or like they had at least Like, so maybe there was something.
Okay.
Maybe this
I
was.
hope there was something else.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not necessarily a story of a police officer being a very bad police officer and like doing something really really awful. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not.
They were in a
it's-
relationship. or
Maybe
something?
it's something like that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I think all the facts have not yet emerged,
That is so crazy.
and it could certainly be the first thing as
Yeah.
well.
Because I understand. I understand going on, like sometimes I live on the 4th floor, sometimes I walk one floor more than I thought, more than I end up on the 5th floor.
Yeah,
and
but
by
your key wouldn't work.
Yeah, your key
like,
wouldn't work.
Like, how do you get it? How did she get in?
How did she get in? Even if you get in, even if you get in without the keys, let's say the door was open and you get, you see how different they. Once you come in, you're like, whoa, this looks different from my apartment. How would you come in, see that the apartment looks so different, and then see somebody sitting inside the apartment, and then go, oh, I have to kill this person? It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
like,
let's
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
let's
move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you? I mean, this podcast is doing jazz with Lawrence Chuno, but how did the jazz become part of Lawrence Chuno? I mean,
What do you mean?
when did you start? When did you first encounter jazz? I mean, what?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm originally from Nigeria. From Makurdi, Benue State. That was where I was born. Even though I would say I'm from. Oh, let's just say I'm from Nigeria. let's not go into two stories.
Well,
too
I mean,
deep.
are you from like a more rural area or more urban area or?
I was born in an urban area, but it's different in Nigeria. Where you're born is not necessarily where you're from. Where you're from is where your family originates from.
I see. So your ancestry.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ancestors. So I would say I'm from Enugu State, but I was born in Benue State, in Makurdi, Benue State, and that's where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes naturally, like it's just easy for me to say that's where I'm from, but that's not where I'm from. I mean, that's in Nigeria. That wouldn't be where I'm from. I'm from Nenwe in Enugu State in Nigeria, right? So I came to the US in 2000, and I came to study computer science. I did computer science for about 2 years, and then I discovered that I'm more of a mathematician than a computer scientist. So I switched to math, but by then I had enough credits to double major. So I did both double. I had two bachelor's degrees, one in computer science, one in math. But throughout that period, I have always loved music, even in Nigeria. I never paid attention to jazz before. I knew jazz, but I never paid attention until I came to the US. That was when I started listening to jazz music. I was exposed to jazz concerts in college. Duquesne has a really good school of music, the Mary Pappert School of Music, and they put on different kind of shows. But they are more into sacred music and classical music and chambers music, not necessarily jazz. But being exposed to those music made me to explore more. And there was this radio station in Pittsburgh. It's like the local NPR station, which was actually whose station actually was housed in
Duquesne
at
University.
Duquesne University.
That's pretty common. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I used to work at the front desk there. At the hall is Assumption Hall, and the radio station is inside there. And I would go in there, and they would say, "Oh yeah, this is the jazz station," And that's when I knew jazz before then, but that's when I started becoming really interested and explore and discovering the intricacies in jazz. That it's like a whole world of its own. It's like it's not even it's just like a different discipline.
Right.
Yeah. So that was when I started listening to Ella Fitzgerald. Was the person that the first one I started, first jazz musician that I studied. I really, really studied. And then um I I'm blacking out. We're
Blank.
gonna we're gonna did this.
I don't know your life. I mean, you have to
I'm
tell me
blacking
what
out.
you're into.
No, no, no. I'm knowing this a pianist that I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna remember. Yeah, but I just started listening to one song that I really, really liked was All Blues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a popular one.
Yeah, yeah, I just
It's the
listen to
saddest song possible.
You think?
All blue.
All blues.
It's a joke. It's
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. But like
Yeah.
every single one.
Yeah, yeah. And another after Ella Fitzgerald, another person that I discovered I really like his song was Horace Silver.
Oh,
And
cool.
he's a pianist, and I found his songs to be, I don't know,
He's
to
kind of
have
he's kind of like a gateway drug for jazz.
really.
Yeah, I mean a lot. I remember when I was growing up. A lot of the songs we started playing were Horace Silver tunes, like "Song for My Father."
Yeah.
Or, Nika's Dream.
Yeah. And he has this gospel element. Do you notice that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then he has a comedic element to his songs, some of his songs. But I really like his songs.
Hmm.
And but meanwhile, I was very active in the school choir. In the school choir, it's mostly the choir for the, because it's a Catholic school, for the church, the chapel there. So I was very active. So I had a lot of music in my life then. So but after my undergraduate education, my intention was to move to New York and do music, not necessarily jazz, but just
Just do it in some
yeah,
way.
yeah, become a musician or like an actor or something like that. And after that, after graduating, I discovered that it would be very difficult. First of all, New York would be a very difficult place. Second of all, I was on a visa, so I didn't have a job. So it's either I'm working
Or you're studying.
I'm studying. So I continued and I went and I got my my master's degree and my PhD in applied math, and I finally got a job in New York. So, but meanwhile, while in grad school, throughout while I was studying math in grad school, I always had a band. I always had a band that I was playing with, singing, playing piano, getting gigs. I had good following in Pittsburgh, but then I got a job in New York, and I moved to New York. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So speaking of the podcast, how has, because when I listen to your podcast, and I always feel like the questions you ask your guests, you're always trying to expand your knowledge of
Yeah.
the business or of someone's approach to something. Like, how has having a podcast influenced your career?
Oh, my music career.
Your music career, not your mathematician career.
Okay. It's influenced it in tremendous ways. Like, it's changed my life. Seriously, having this podcast. I started initially, it was called Doing Art, because I moved to New York. I wanted to meet people in the art community, artistic people, creatives. So I would invite writers, singers, dancers, actors, any kind. I had a lot of actors at the beginning.
Pretty general.
Yeah, very general. So after a while, I'm like, what am I doing? Why not just restrict this?
Narrow it down.
Yeah,
a little
narrow
bit.
it down to jazz, so that people, somebody who likes jazz today won't run into an actor on the next episode and be like, what is this? So I changed it to Doing Jazz. And the first person I interviewed, I can't remember, but his name Zemaudu might be the first person I interviewed as Doing Jazz. And since then I would the podcast was already I have a website that I keep up to date. So whenever I hit somebody up, I meet some random people, not random people, like musicians I'd never spoken to. I meet them on Facebook. I tell them, would you like to do my podcast? And I send them the link. They're like, yeah, sure. I really want to do it, and everybody that I've interviewed has been grateful. Not even one person. I've never recorded an interview that I didn't end up putting up. They've all been like very grateful. They say this podcast is needed in the jazz community, and I've learned a lot from them. I've met people that I didn't know how else I would have been able to talk to them if not through this podcast. I've met people that I just sat down and chatted with, and I said to myself, how else would I have an hour to just spend with somebody, another musician,
Right.
if not through a podcast like this? And people have given me the most wonderful advice. There was this guy, Mark Wade. He hit me up out of nowhere. He's like, hey, I see this podcast. Can I come on the podcast? I'm like, oh, why not? I don't know you, but why not? And he came on and we talked, and I asked him a question about a piece of advice he would give to other bass players. He said, I would give this advice to every musician in general. Just try to practice every day, even if it's for 15 minutes. That sounded like the simplest advice ever. But that has changed my life.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the podcast, we kept talking. He's like, and you don't even have to finish playing a song. Just
get some reps on the instrument.
Exactly. Just relax and do something on the instrument.
Yeah.
And that has changed my life on the piano. Like, I would just sit down and say, okay, maybe I should just play the bridge of Misty before I go to sleep, or maybe, just play the bridge of what's going on before I go to sleep, and it's changed my life. So yeah, this podcast it's affected my career in tremendous ways. Yeah.
Cool. Just wanted to talk a little bit about two of the songs in the album, and then we have a special little section called "Turn Up, Turn Down," which
turn up, mute.
Oh, I changed it to turn up,
turn down. Okay,
I thought "Turn Up, Turn Down" was a little catchier.
All right. Okay. I might steal that.
yeah, because I always notice that, like, when you ask people turn up or mute, you kind of have to explain it 2 or 3 times.
True.
Like, turn up, turn down. I know you don't need my 2 cents, but
true.
Okay.
True.
So, anyways, before we get to that, so there's 2 songs I want to play for you, and one of them is called "One Train."
Okay.
And on Niger Rhythm Affair, it was called "Easy Busy."
Yes.
So, I mean, if the song it's kind of like a Pokemon. It can only speak its own name, because the only lyrics in One Train are "easy, busy, busy," and then the rest is just like a melody that's sung. So, like, if you could talk a little bit about what this song is about. I mean, is it just about being on the one train?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can talk about it. Yeah. That song has like a very would I say it has evolved. It started with a song that I actually recorded. It's called Funk Island. Yeah.
That's the funniest title I've ever heard.
Yep. Funk Island. And it's like, it's a song I recorded that the lyrics came first, and I didn't want to change the lyrics. But the lyrics didn't mean a lot.
Was it just Funk
No.
Island?
No, it's a good song. It goes like this. The carnival has just begun at the dimming of the sky. The people feed with awe as they do each moon. I can't even remember.
But that's the melody to One Train.
But then it goes, come on with me, baby. Come on with me, darling. Take me to the Funk Island. Come on with me, baby. So I just thought this song was very cheesy. You can't find that song anywhere. But I thought it was very. Of course, I couldn't sing it to save my life.
What if I transcribed what you just sung and then recorded it and then released it? Then you could find it somewhere.
You can find it somewhere. Yeah, but the more I learned I learned to write and to compose. I saw potential in Funk Island, and I took some elements of it and made the chord more, add more progressions to the chords, add more chords, more different chords to the progressions, and made it more of a jazz song called One Train. And One Train reminds me of what I was imagining while I was writing Funk Island, like a place where you just relax and take your time and just stay busy, but take life easy, And that's what One Train does to me. Whenever I'm in it, I'm like, I know it's gonna stop at every stop. It's taking it easy, but it stays busy, you know.
So this song I think goes over really well live. It's called Mr. Sabi. I'll play it for you in a minute. So you have a very interesting explanation behind this song, and I've always noticed that when we play at venues where there is a significant African population in the crowd, they're always nodding their heads.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk about your explanation for the song a little bit before we listen to it.
Okay.
Because when you've explained it to, I think it's really funny.
Okay.
And like it's like, especially you told me who Mr. Sabi is a composite of, and who's the main ingredient in that composite. So maybe you could just talk about something like that.
Okay. Sabi in Nigeria, to Sabi means to know. So if somebody says Sabi Sabi, that means you think you're like Mr. Know-it-all, So when I say Mr. Sabi, it's like saying Mr. Know-it-all. And it stems from when people, usually Westerners or people who have never been to Africa, think they know more about Africa than you do as an African. They think that, this is a place that has a lot of problems and this is the solution to the problem. Why not do this? Why not make everybody farmers so that they all adopt chickens and
right,
and
which is not where you want to live.
I have sustainable agriculture. Or why is why are you an African and you're doing modern music? Is that African? I'm like, Africa is not a museum. This my music is African. It can be modern and African. Or you play an African instrument and so the person that triggered the music, the song, is actually a lady. A lot of men have been Mr. Sabi to me, but this lady triggered me, made me say, okay, I'm gonna write a song about this. I was playing conga, djembe and conga, and she wanted to teach me how to play it. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh yeah, and she came up with a name for the rhythm she's playing, and and she's probably taught by somebody in some other part of Africa, and said, "Okay, this is my teacher in Wisconsin taught me how to play like this." I said, "Okay," and I just watched her play it, and I'm like, "Wow, you're adorable." And then
I mean, I'm sure she was a very sweet woman.
yeah, she's a very sweet, with
very
the
well
purest of
intentioned,
intention,
but
she
it's just a little odd, like telling you what.
yeah, telling me, and which I love her, I still respected her, but yeah, so that's where Mr. Sabi comes from. People who think. But in general, it's actually about people who think they know too much, but they just haven't spent the time to learn about the thing they think they know. Just because you love something or you care for something, and
Doesn't mean you know it as well.
doesn't
Someone
mean,
knows it first person.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I just remember when you telling me that, like, there were people who I've met in my life who could have been this Mr. or Mrs. Sabi in this case.
Yeah.
So it kind of rung true for me. Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah. Looking in the eyes, Oyibo man we think say him wise. In his mind he thinks Africa is a museum. Mr. Sabi is the name. Last year he went to Lagos. Just one visit to Lagos. Now he thinks he knows everything about Africa. Oh, just because they teach I'm shocking. There he goes, sweet talking Sabi, fake intellectual Mr. Sabi. Promise me if you meet Mr. Sabi, you will know. Tell him where to go. He writes a weekly blog, Sustainable Economy for Africa. Can you imagine? Now what would that guy? Each family buy a chicken and a goat. No. This Oyibo man they craze. There he goes, sweet talking Sabi, pseudo intellectual Mr. Sabi. If you meet Mr. Sabi, you will know. Tell him where to go. Satisfied with his own world, oblivious to truth of other worlds. Thoughts he's gone, his eyes on TV every day, but the revolution won't be televised. There he goes, sweet talking Sabi, fake intellectual Mr. Sabi. Promise me if you meet Mr. Sabi, you will know. Tell him where to go. There he goes, sweet talking Sabi, pseudo intellectual Mr. Sabi. If you meet Mr. Sabi, you will know. Tell him where to go. There he goes, sweet talking Sabi, fake intellectual
Final segment. So turn up, turn down. So this segment of the show, I will list two things, and one of them you will say turn up, and the other
Okay.
you will say turn down.
Okay.
So this reflects kind of how you're feeling at the moment, not necessarily for all time, just how you're feeling now.
Why not?
Sounds good. Okay, so this one kind of gets to kind of your particular stylistic influences.
Yeah.
So Fela Kuti versus Lionel Loeke. Kind of two African musicians who one is more jazz, one
Yeah.
is, I guess,
Oh,
maybe a lot of different other influences. But who do you
interesting.
who do you turn up and turn down in your own, at least these days?
Gosh. That is really hard. That's really, really hard. I really respect Lionel Loeke. He's a virtuoso on his guitar.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll turn Fela Kuti up
Mm-hmm.
because Fela Kuti is more of. I don't want to. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm comparing myself to Fela Kuti, but he's my kind of person, like somebody who let it loose on stage.
Sure.
You know,
But he's
so-
more of your style.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
My kind of spirit, my kind of person on stage. He's more of a performer, and I feel like I'm more of a performer than a virtuoso musician. You know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different skill set. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect someone like Fela Kuti to know a lot of the specific
Yeah.
musical theory things, or like how to notate rhythms in the way
Yeah.
Lionel Loeke could. But turn that around. I mean, Lionel Loeke probably couldn't get a crowd, as
Yeah.
excited as Fela Kuti
Exactly.
could. Or
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about maybe overall compositional vision. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Lionel Loeke is kind of he's known only kind of exclusively amongst, music dorks and jazz musicians
Yeah.
and
Or jazz dogs.
jazz dorks. Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what we are.
Yeah.
And Fela Kuti has a wide international following, and
Yeah, it took him a while though.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to become known. I mean, of course, he's no longer alive, but it took him a while
Yeah.
to develop what he had and still has today. And his style is just different,
Yeah, I think he's such an influential person that
Yeah.
you can listen to a lot of bands from around the world who have been influenced by him, and it's just a huge reach.
Yeah. His I would definitely I feel like I was I've been influenced by Fela, but I never sought out to be influenced by him.
Hmm.
To be serious, I'm actually more influenced, like the people that I have studied. I've listened to a lot of Aljuro. Yeah. I studied the heck out of Diane Reeves.
Hmm.
There was a time I listened to a lot of Nat King Cole. Then I started listening to Natalie Cole.
Hmm.
And then there was a period of time I listened a lot to Patti LaBelle. I don't know why. I just found her voice like really different and really intriguing, and some things that she does as a singer, I wouldn't want to do that because I don't think a lot of people want to do that because you'd be afraid of everything falling apart. But she would do it.
She
Like,
kind of goes for the
she would
gold.
she'd just go for it. And sometimes it doesn't come out fine, but it's who she is. Like, I don't think it comes out polished, but not fine. It's fine, but it's not polished. But it is Patti LaBelle, and I really liked that about her. That she goes for certain things that nobody would go for, and it's like
Well, sometimes you have to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
if no one did that, then everyone would have a very safe and boring existence.
Yeah.
Wait versus Today, kind of like the two different themes of the album. Which do you turn up and which do you turn down?
Huh. That's tough. I would turn up Today.
Okay.
I'll turn up Today. Because Wait, Wait is a song that was very. It didn't take me long to write a song. You know, I didn't. I wouldn't say it just came out of me, out of being honest, and I really like how the song came out. I really like your bass solo on the song.
Well, thank you.
Shout out to John Gray on bass on that song. The bass solo, I can go through the bass solo, note for note, but I won't do it. Yeah, and of course the groove of the song is like, it's catchy and everybody bumps their head to it whenever we play it. Tun, 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 tun. Yeah. So yeah, that song I don't think it challenged me a whole lot. But Today is a song that gave me a run for my money. I would say I wanted a lot for the song, and the intro and then the breakdown. You can remember how long it took us to get. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a really long time to. I mean, I remember it was like the winter of 2015.
Yes.
I remember we spent so many times like in my old apartment. No, it couldn't have been 2015 because that's when. No, it was.
It was late 2015.
You know, we like just going over a lot of this new material. It's like I didn't have a window of reference for a lot of it, and it's like I remember especially Newer Onum. That was the hardest one.
Oh, Newer Onum is another song altogether.
Yeah, but eventually we all pulled it together.
Yeah,
thank God.
Yeah. So that song, it's like it has a lot of parts that were like moving at different wavelengths, you know, like the intro and then the breakdown, you know, and all the hits. And then the most difficult part for me was going from the intro to the song, but it flowed smoothly, and then going from the breakdown to modulating it a whole note up. And I didn't want to lose the Africanness of the song, but I still wanted to have some jazz elements or some compositional elements that will make people give it a second take, like the second verse, what we call the A2. That's just like a little bit different, and then the modulation, and it's a song that people resonate to whenever we play it. It's like
it's a great message.
Yeah, it's a great message and a great feel. Like and one thing I noticed is that the song I was thinking when I was writing, oh my God, if you don't have everything, if you don't have about a 5-piece band, you can't pull this song off. But just the bass and the drums, you could just play that song with just the bass and drum, and it will still give you that happy effect.
Oh yeah. One last question. It's not a turn up or turn down. I wish I had thought of more of those, but maybe next time.
Okay.
So one thing that happens a lot in the live shows, and it's really impressive, is your dancing.
Oh, okay.
You are one heck of a dancer. We're especially in Today, there's so many songs where you're dancing. So tell me a little bit about where you learned to dance, and where did that come from?
It came from growing up in Nigeria. Yeah, we just dance, and I have to say that some things that I do, I think I do them well because I wrote the songs.
Okay.
So
you understand how the rhythm of them works.
Yes. So and I work on that part of it, like the breakdown of Today. You know, definitely choreograph the dance to that. So I just don't come out to do that. So I kept working on my dance because I wanted something to. I wanted to use everything I got to push my music. My music, it's in between world and jazz. The venues that I play at are venues that jazz people play and other musicians also play. So throughout, if I continue in this, I'm always going to be encountering people who do jazz and people who do world music. And sometimes the way to distinguish yourself or to bring us to be different is to bring yourself out more. And a part of me that I can put more out there would be my dance moves, especially in it's something that people wouldn't expect from somebody who does jazzy songs, So yeah, that's what I did. But I learned in Nigeria, and I still keep working on my dance moves. I just don't wait till it's this day of the show. I go out, I rent studios, and I dance.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
So
that.
you just like you rent a studio space and you rehearse by yourself?
Yeah, I rehearse by myself. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yep.
I was always in the impression that you went to some kind of school, but like
for dance.
For some short period of time in your life, or you had some kind of formal training. But that's.
I went to school for piano.
When was that?
In Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to. It wasn't like a school. It's called the Afro. This guy he taught at Pitt. Maybe he still teaches. James Johnson, Dr. James Johnson, and he had this school in Homewood, Pittsburgh. It's like this crazy neighborhood, but he had a fantastic music school. It's called Afro American Music Institute. That's what he calls it. And people stop by there. And who stopped there? Esperanza Spalding stopped there. Stopped by there once. James Moody was there once.
I bet Jerry Allen was there.
Jerry Allen was there a lot.
She lived in Pittsburgh, right?
She lived in Pittsburgh. I think what's his name? Gregory Potter was there. So
wow.
They would just stop by and act like nothing. Just
that sounds like quite the hang.
Yeah. So I remember the Jerry Allen would be. I asked her. So sometimes I'm just like confused on what to practice. She's like, just play the songs you like. Just practice the songs that you like. You like. Just. It doesn't even have to be jazz. Play the songs you like. It makes things easier. And I thought that was a really good advice. And then like the left hand how to comp, I can't remember what I'll call that chord. 7 if I play F, B flat and E flat. What would you call that?
F, B flat, and E flat.
F sustained 7.
Yeah, I guess you could call it that.
F sustained.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, you could maybe call it E flat 9.
E flat 9.
I don't know.
But
it's late, and I'm a bass player.
Yeah, and that was one of the chords that James Moody taught us once. He came. He's like, if you want to play a very simple minor chord, just keep your hand on the bass and take what did he say? Take the third note, the third of it, and play 4 notes ahead of it and another 4 notes. He played it on the piano.
Oh, it was a voicing in fourth.
Yeah,
okay.
Voicing. And he's like, yeah, just do that, and I did it. I'm like, whoa. And I used it for weight and Mississippi. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Lawrence, thanks so much for letting me interview you for your podcast. I had an awesome time, and I feel like I learned a lot about you that I didn't know before.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Later.
All right.
That was really good.
In your face. You can cut that. All right.
Sometimes life will get tough, some things will hardly change, sometimes you'll just manage. Don't waste your time asking why. Lift yourself so you can fly. Smile away the storm cloud, laugh away any bad views, don't make room for the blues. Count your blessings, oh my friend, say them loud, never to end. Today is your day to slay. Today is your day, in every way. Today is your day, for a happy song. Today is your day, so sing along. Smile away the storm, laugh away any bad views. Count your blessings, oh my friend, say them loud, never to end. Today is your day to slay. Today is your day, in every way. Today is your day, for a happy song. Today is your day, so sing along. Today is your day to slay. Today is your day, in every way. Today is your day, for a happy song. Today is your day, so sing along. Today is your day. Today is your day. Today is your day. Today is your day. Your day. Feel this good day today. See this good day today. Live this good day today. Be this good day today.